I'm going to share with you a tip and trick today that I've even seen some really good cooks or even some trained chefs mess up. Stay tuned. Welcome to All Things Food with John Woods. I love to cook, but I cook to love. So let's talk food. So this is part of my series on 50 tips and tricks you need to know to become a better cook. And if you've watched our series of videos, you notice that I have a lot of videos on cutting onions and bell peppers and celery and many other things. But one thing that I often cut, and many you may too, is a pineapple. And the question is, how do we do it? How do we cut this complicated fruit here? Well, one thing we want to do is, first of all, turn it on its sides. We get a big chef's knife, proper grip on it, and we're going to do what I call tipping and tailing. We're going to cut the top of it off, or the tip of it off, right there. We're going to save that. And then we're going to cut the bottom off, or the tail of it, as flat as we can. So that gives us a good stable surface to work from. Now what we do from here is really, really simple. You find a starting point, hold the knife as vertical as you can, and you go down the side of the pineapple just beyond where that is, so you won't leave any of that left on the pineapple. And then what I like to do, I'm going to turn at an angle here. I just take the sweet spot of the knife and I just try to carve down that right there, just like I'm tracing something on a piece of paper. I come in, get right behind it. I don't want to take too much of the meat off. Go straight on down, and it's nice clean pineapple. Move that out of the way. Take the knife, come in at a slight angle there, straight on down, nice and slow. Move right on around. All I'm doing is tracing that line right there. And it works every single time. Sometimes you might have to go a little deeper, but don't worry about that if you have to. You can always come back and clean it up a little bit. See how simple that is? So I'm going to come back and I'm going to clean that up just a tad. We definitely don't want to eat that. You might find a bad spot on the pineapple every once in a while. That's not a big problem to deal with. Okay, so it's cleaned up pretty good. We're going to discard all this and clean up our work area. So we've peeled the pineapple. It looks pretty good. You'll notice, if I'm going to turn this sideways here, there's a core, and that core goes all the way from the top to the bottom here, all the way through the middle. And I've seen people actually try to take a knife and core it out this way and core it out that way. That seems a little complicated to me. I'm kind of a simple person. So I'm going to take my chef's knife, get a good grip on it, put my fingers up here and hold it good and firm. And I'm going to go right down the middle of that core, right there. I'm going to cut this pineapple right in half. So look at that. I've cut right down through the middle of the core, but that still leaves that piece in there. I have a couple options at this time. I've seen people take their knife at a 45-degree angle and cut it out. Again, that's a little too complicated for me. So I'm going to take my knife. I can lay it down flat if I want to, but I'm going to take my knife, get a good grip on it, and go right down through the middle of that. So essentially what I've done, I'm quartering the pineapple. Now, if you want to do this, that's fine. Not a problem, whatever meets your need there. And that still leaves us a quarter of the core. So what are we going to do with that? We obviously don't want to eat that. Take our knife and just go down and trim that out as best we can. There's not much there, so just trim that right out. Again, it's better to use that part of the knife, I think. It's a little heavier. Okay, so we have 4 pieces of pineapple. Those are kind of large. So what we can do now is get that down flat where we can work on it, and we can cut it into 3 sections there, maybe, if we want to. Come over here and then dice it into maybe 1/2-inch sections. And there we have chunks of pineapple. That's great. So another thing that we can do is actually take that bigger piece, cut it in half like that, then come over here and cut this into thinner strips, like so. These are a little slick. Then take it, turn it, stack them on their side like that, and then just cut real thin, like julienne strips. Do that so you can see it. Then turn it sideways, and then come back and really do a finer dot. So if you're making a cake or something like that, you may want to do this. So that's just a simple technique there that you can learn how to cut a pineapple. It's not too difficult. A lot of different ways you can do this. Just experiment with it. A lot of different cuts you can do on the pineapple. This is what I usually use when I'm doing a fruit tray or making it for kebabs. Now, what do we do with this top over here? If you're making a fruit tray or a platter, you can take this top, take your knife at an angle and cut it like so. Get you a nice pretty piece like that, and take that and soak it in ice water for an hour or 2 hours. It'll brighten it up. It'll look very vibrant, and you can use this as a garnish on a fruit tray or small petite sandwich tray or whatever you want to do. So that was part of the tips and tricks of 50 things you need to know to be a better cook. Hope you enjoyed the series. Watch it, subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you next week on All Things Food with John Woods.